Good morning. Good morning and welcome to the 10th Faith Family Medical Center breakfast. My name is Clay Stauffer. I am the pastor here at Woodmont and have served on the board at Faith Family. I did that for about 6 years, and it is an honor to welcome all of you here this morning for another wonderful event. I'm going to serve as the MC of sorts this morning. And I'd like to ask if we could begin with a word of prayer. We're going to get going a minute early this morning. Let us pray. Loving God, we are grateful to be gathered here on this cool early fall morning to celebrate, to give thanks for, and to continue our support for Faith Family Medical Center here in Nashville. We thank you for the many lives that are healed and that are changed on a daily basis. Thank you for Dr. Panovic, for the staff, for Laura, for everybody, the nurses, for all that work hard to make it operate day in and day out. May the stories that are shared today continue to inspire us to bring hope. May we never tire in our efforts to give back and to help those in our community who are in need. Let us remember the words of Christ, who said, just as you did it to one of the least of these, who are members of my family, you did it to me. As we prepare to begin a season of Thanksgiving, we're all grateful for so many things, the blessings that we have in our lives, to live in this city, for our families, for our jobs, our friendships, for health. Remind us all, Lord, that faith is to be lived out. And supporting Faith Family is one way that we can do that, and it's something that we can feel really good about. Bless this food that we are now enjoying, and the hands that have prepared it, and give us all a deeper sense of appreciation for the wonderful work of this great organization. All this we pray in Christ's name. Amen.
This is kind of just a dream place for me to work. You don't just get low-cost care here at Faith Family. You actually get high-quality, low-cost care, and that's something we feel very passionate about.
We serve the working, uninsured, and underinsured in the greater Middle Tennessee area.
There are a lot of people who fall between the cracks and don't have insurance, with health problems that they can't deal with, and even some people who are insured can't afford to see a doctor.
We'd like to be your primary care provider and fill in that gap completely.
We encourage our patients to come as often as they need to, and we also encourage them to not delay care because we are affordable. It's $20 to $55 to see the doctor. By taking care of things early, it really can prevent lots of future problems.
It's on a sliding scale, and your health care is not compromised just based on what you make.
If it wasn't for Faith Family, I probably would be living around here with high blood pressure and not knowing things that's going on with my body.
Wellness incorporates a lot more than just taking some pills when you're sick. So we have a registered dietitian on staff. We have a garden. It teaches people in a very small space that you can grow healthful foods and vegetables. We're engaged as a clinic. We've got a 5K coming up. They say, you guys aren't just telling us to go do this, you guys are actually out here walking with us.
What she really needed at that moment was someone to hold her hand and pray with her and share her pain. And it's just an honor and a privilege to be able to share life with my patients.
I was just blown away with the love and the care that this clinic has given me.
Dr. Panovic is awesome.
He's got a really good heart for people and their struggles.
The hearts of some of the patients really touch you when you're here.
We love our patients and we want to help our hardworking neighbors on their journey to good health. We provide truly affordable health care for the uninsured and the underinsured. We're not a healthcare system, we're a healthcare family.
You come over here and you get medicine for your soul. There's amazing people right here.
Good morning. I'm Laura Hobson. I'm the president and CEO of Faith Family Medical Center, and I just want to thank you all so much for coming this morning. This is our 10th breakfast, and I want to first thank Clay Stauffer and Woodmont Christian Church because they have let us use their facility for 10 years, which is just amazing. So we are so grateful. And I thought it would be fun to see who has been here all 10 years, because I know there are a number of you. So if you have attended all 10 years, please raise your hand. Wow, great. And who is here for the first time? Because we welcome you as well. Terrific. Well, today you're going to have a real treat in hearing about Faith Family's past, present, and future. And these things would not be possible without our terrific staff, so I'd like to recognize them and ask them to stand. I think a lot of them are already standing, but they work diligently every day, so let's give them a round of applause. In the back. And now I want to talk about this morning, because it takes a great deal of effort to put this together, and I want to begin by thanking our terrific breakfast chairs, and I'm not sure where they're sitting, Jeff and Julia Gaw. So Jeff is the son of one of our founders, David and Patsy Gaw, and you'll hear about them in a little bit, but the Gaws have recently hosted a kickoff celebration at their beautiful home for the table hosts and the past breakfast chairs. And Jeff has been instrumental in getting a lot of new folks here to the breakfast for the first time, and he's filled 4 tables and gotten lots of sponsorships. So let's give Jeff and Julia a round. And in addition to the chairs, we have lots of volunteers that make this morning possible. And I'd like to thank the ones who helped get sponsors for this breakfast, because I'm happy to say that we've raised over $60,000 in sponsorships. And they're all listed in your program, and the benefactors are listed on the table numbers, on the back of the table numbers, but I do want to recognize them. They're Brentwood Capital Advisors, Tom Wiley, Freeman Webb, Kirby Davis, Ingenious Med, Gerard Phillips, Caton Hancock, Ann Toomey, and Renaissance Bank. So thank you so much for your generous support, and please look at the program for all the rest of the sponsors. I want to thank also all the table hosts. We have quite a few new ones this year, and we really appreciate you helping us share the mission of Faith Family with your friends. We could not put this event together without your help. Since I joined Faith Family 11 years ago, I've had the privilege of working with 4 board chairs, and they are all here today. So I would like to introduce and have them stand. Each of these men have contributed significantly to Faith Family. So would you please stand? Jack Ferris, Terry Warren, Bob Alford, and our current chair, Frank Kyle. Right over there. Frank will be talking in a few minutes about the future of Faith Family, and I want to take a minute to tell you how vital he is to that future. He is amazing. He has given Faith Family so much of his time, talent, and treasure. He's been a terrific mentor to me. Words can't express how grateful I am for your leadership. We would not be where we are today without your leadership. Thank you. And now I have the joy of introducing our 3 honorees. These exceptional organizations have been supportive of Faith Family since our beginning in 2001, and they're continuing their support to the present and the future. I'm listing them in alphabetical order. The first is Ascension, St. Thomas Health, especially Karen Springer and Greg Pope. Karen could not be with us today, but I'd like to tell you a little bit about Greg. I used to work with Greg when I worked at the St. Thomas Foundation back in the early 2000s. And now Greg is the Chief Mission and Ministry Officer for St. Thomas Health. St. Thomas has leased our clinic facility to us for $1 a year since 2001. And Faith Family and St. Thomas share a very similar mission. You will hear more about our partnership in a little while, but I'd like to ask Greg to stand. Our second honoree is the Frist Foundation. And today we have Pete Bird, the CEO of the foundation, with us. We are so grateful for your support throughout these many years. Pete is very well respected in his field, and he's been encouraging and very helpful to me. So Pete, would you please stand? And lastly, I'd like to thank the HCA Foundation and HCA Healthcare, especially Joanne Pullis, the president of the foundation, and Milton Johnson, the chairman and CEO of HCA. Unfortunately, Joanne could not be with us today, but I'm happy to say that Milton is here. And Milton has led HCA, which is just such an incredible company, for the last many years, and we are so grateful for their generous support of Faith Family. They recognize the need, and they continue to partner with us to ensure affordable health care for all the uninsured in Middle Tennessee. Milton, will you please stand? So you'll hear more about all of these wonderful partners as we go through our program. But to close, I invite each of you to look on your table, and hopefully you found a little small plastic case at your seat. Please take this with you and keep it in your car or your purse or your pocket. These cards are printed in English and Spanish so that you can pass them out to the many people that need our services. This might be your restaurant server, your handyman, your store clerk, a hairdresser. The list goes on. And I challenge you to give out 3 of the cards in the next few days, and you will be surprised at the hope that you will see on people's faces when you give it to them. Spreading the word about Faith Family is so important because many of our hardworking neighbors need our services. So again, thank you so much for coming this morning, and I will turn this over to Clay.
Thank you, Laura, for your leadership and for your vision. Today we're going to take you on a journey that will take us through the past, present, and future of Faith Family Medical Center. And we'll talk about the role that each of you have played and will continue to play in that story. So to begin this journey, we're going to welcome one of our patron saints of this organization, former medical director Dr. Tom Henderson, to the stage to talk about Faith Family's early years. Tom served as the medical director for Faith Family beginning right from the very beginning all the way until 2013, and he continues to volunteer at the center today. So let's welcome Dr. Tom Henderson.
It's just really exciting to have you all here this year again, and boy, there's some faces that jog memories, and it's just great to see you all. Thank you for your continued support and encouragement of our organization and of me, because, when I came here, and it says here 1999, I think that's right in the spring, I had met with David and John, and they stuck their neck out to asked me to come and be medical director, so Linda and I decided to accept that. We loaded up a couple of U-Hauls and drove them across those twin bridges there at Cairo. If you haven't done that before, you should do that sometime. That's a real experience. And we got here and didn't know anything, but just a host of people were so good to us and introduced us to the territory. And one thing led to another. God made things happen. God orchestrated this whole thing, the board development, the staff development, to meet the needs of the low-income, uninsured people. We even have our first board chair here today. He was sitting right over here. Raise your hand, Joe. I think I saw you. Joe Hutz, did I see him? See, it's going. I'm going fast. I can remember very clearly, Joe and I were hosting our first board meeting, I knew nothing, and he wanted to know what's the agenda. I said, "What's that?" So anyway, so we committed, and David and John, Patsy, Linda, they were so supportive of this whole organization and the development. The specialists that came on board, all the ancillary services that God provided, the lab support through HCA, the imaging through various organizations, the hospitals, all came on board to help us with this. So it was just a beautiful demonstration of the sovereignty of God. I'm convinced of that. We were kind of patterned after the Church Health Center in Memphis. This was, again, God's sovereignty and direction, and He has continued to direct us down through the years. I can tell you story after story, and I've got 1 minute left. So anyway, Laura came on board in 2007. I can remember that first breakfast at the Smith's place in a tent. Isn't that correct? Or something? Yeah, I think that's right. And then in 2010, we launched the initiative called Journey to Wellness to tackle the chronic health problems such as diabetes, hypertension, and obesity. The name was changed to Faith Family Medical Center to reflect the more comprehensive nature of our outreach. That was in 2013. Later that year, in 2013, I had informed the board that I was going to step down after 12 years plus. So we started looking, and again, God's sovereignty. We looked, and we thought we were doing the right thing, but we kind of stumbled, and we stepped back and said, well, we better pray about this some more. God took care of that. He sent Parker. So God is so good. In 2015, with the enactment of the Affordable Care Act, we expanded our mission to include not only the uninsured, but also the underinsured. So I'm going to share one memory because my time's up. Otherwise, one of the retirement's great. I was just talking to Mickey. He said retirement's great. We agree. I enjoy retirement, but I'm there on Monday to volunteer. The girls still have to open my computer up. I still cannot get into it. I'm just frustrated. You know, they even got me a new computer, and I couldn't get into it. So they get me into the computer, and I get started, and I see 5 to 8 patients. And one of the fun things, the joyful things, is when you see a patient that came to Faith Family a long time ago. And I saw a gentleman, Jerry, Monday, whom I had talked to on the phone, he and his wife, a couple of weeks ago, because he's got such a chronic health issue. We're trying to sort all this out. And so Buster helped us, and somebody did a stress test, and we're just trying to figure this guy out. And finally, we turned the corner with him, and he's feeling better now. So he came in to see me, and then I said, oh, now I know who I was talking to on the phone 2 weeks ago. So he had come to us initially after we've been open 11 months. He had been referred by somebody at Baptist, said, there's a place you can go. So that's one of the interacting with people. So I thank you, and I hope God continues to bless you all, and you will continue with your willingness to lay up treasures in heaven. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Henderson, for everything you have done. I can remember a number of years ago when Dr. Henderson told us that he was ready to retire. There was a little bit of a panic, and then we said, we've got to find a new chief medical officer. And after a search, we were incredibly blessed to find Dr. Parker Panovic, who lived in Jackson, Tennessee at the time, where he was in private practice for family medicine, and before that he taught at the University of Tennessee Medical School. Parker has done a phenomenal job stepping into that role, and I'd like to invite Parker to come and talk to us about the present.
Good morning. I keep having to follow Tom Henderson. Always tough. Guys, thank you so much for coming out. I know it's early for some of you. For some of you, it's not so early. But I'm married to one of you who it's really early for. So thank you guys for getting up and coming out. And there's lots of coffee, so keep it going. Let's start off talking numbers. Like Tom said, we continue to serve the uninsured and underinsured here in the greater Nashville area. And we know that at any given time, there's about 200,000 people who fit that criteria. It's 200,000. We also serve local college students. So we see people from Lipscomb, from Belmont, from TSU, and they can all access our services because they're not all covered. We charge on a sliding scale. Starts at $20, goes to $55. The average patient last year paid $29, okay? That's their office visit and their lab work. And that means that many of our patients are below the federal poverty level, which is $12,000 a year. Most of our patients are less than 200% of the federal poverty level. 60% of our patients have either diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, or obesity, and many have all four of those things. We think it's such a problem in greater Nashville area that we actually have 10 specific disease days for diabetes and for hypertension throughout the year. We had one yesterday, and just to focus on these disease processes. On a budget of about $2 million a year, we provide over $8 million in care. And we do that by partnering with a lot of other people. You've heard about St. Thomas, and they provide our building to us and have for a long time for $1 a year. And we make great use out of that space. I don't know if we have any pictures. I love the ones we've moved all the chairs out of the waiting room to do yoga. I mean, we're using our space, guys. HCA providing laboratory services at just an incredible discounted rate for us. The Frist Foundation helping especially with technology services and the computer that Tom loves to use for our electronic medical records. We have over 160 specialists, and some of you guys are here, who see our patients at a discounted rate. We have a partnership with Lipscomb and their pharmacy program, and they help us to get medicines from pharmaceutical companies at no cost to our patients. And that's not small. Last year, that number was $4 million worth of medicine. $4 million. Okay. All that allows us to do about a 4-to-1 return on investment. If I start talking business, turn it off. I don't know what I'm talking about. But 4 for 1 sounds good to me. So for every dollar you guys give us, we get $4 out of it. Okay? That's good. In addition, we know that we save the local emergency rooms $6.3 million annually by taking care of people in our clinic instead of them winding up getting their primary care in the emergency room. That's the numbers. But you know what matters for me, just like with Tom and like many of you, it's the people who come to see us. It's the person who I'm sitting across the room from or next to. One of those is Matthew. Matthew is a 41-year-old male who was born in Kentucky but moved to Nashville about 3 years ago. Matthew came to see me as a new patient 3 weeks ago. He'd spent the night before in the emergency room because he went in because he felt tired and he started experiencing chest pain. While he was in the emergency room, he was found to have a blood sugar of 670. Normal, about 100. After the stuff you just ate, maybe 130, okay? But you're not at 670, okay. After several hours of IV fluids and insulin, Matthew was released home to follow up with his primary care provider. And they told him where to go, but the truth is Matthew didn't know anybody. He didn't know this person. Fortunately, a friend of their family used to work for us at Faith Family and said, I know where to take you. So they brought Matthew to me about 3 weeks ago. I saw Matthew less than 24 hours after getting out of the emergency room, and his blood sugar in my office was already back up over 400. So obviously Matthew needed insulin. And actually, he had previously been on both pills and insulin twice a day until 6 or 7 months ago. You see, what he was doing is he was going into work about 4 o'clock and driving for Lyft from 4 o'clock to 9 o'clock, and then he would go in at 10 o'clock at night and work overnight stocking at Sam's warehouse, okay? So he had 2 jobs. The Sam's job allowed him to have insurance and to get his medicines at an affordable rate for him. But when he lost his full-time job, he didn't have any way to get those medicines. And so he did what most people would do. He just kept taking the pills, but he quit taking the insulin. The insulin itself, just so you guys would know, is about $400 a month. Okay? That's what it was going to cost him. His other concern was this chest pain. And anybody would be concerned if you're having chest pain, you have to go to the emergency room. But he had a special reason for that. Because of a genetic abnormality, he's already had multiple blood clots that have gone to his lungs. So when he began experiencing chest pain, he was really concerned. He also was on a blood thinner. He's supposed to take it every single day, okay? But again, he lost his insurance. He didn't know how to get his medicine. It's $450 a month. And so he just started skipping days to make his medicine go longer so he wouldn't have to stop it altogether. All these things, plus thyroid disease, chronic kidney stones, were further complicated by the fact that Matthew has a borderline IQ and struggles with depression and anxiety. His family members told me he functions on about the level of a 14-year-old. Fortunately, we had samples of both insulin and his blood thinner that day. So we started working on applications through our prescription assistance program to get those medicines for him at no cost to Matthew. So Matthew came back to see me last week. His blood sugars are still high, but they're in the 200s, not the 600s. But the biggest thing is I opened the door, and I could tell how much better he felt before he even told me. And then he started telling me how much better he felt, how much energy he had. We had a great second visit. And when he left that day, he had $2,700 worth of medicine in his hands to take care of him for the next 3 months. He also, yesterday, attended one of our diabetes days to learn better the importance of nutrition and exercise and controlling his weight. Matthew is why Faith Family exists. Matthew is why I'm here. Matthew's why you're here. I was asked recently what faith people need to have to come to our clinic to be seen. And I said, you've got it backwards. We don't see patients because of their faith. We serve patients because of our faith.
Thank you, Dr. Panovic. I want you to know that when we found Parker, we found somebody who not only was an exceptional physician, he also had a very strong faith and a desire to put those two together. And it's stories like the one about Matthew that motivate all of us to continue to support this great organization. I've had the privilege of being here for every one of the breakfasts. I've played a role in hosting the breakfasts, but I've also been able to watch the support of Faith Family grow over the past decade, which has truly been remarkable. I was recently talking to a friend of mine who moved to Nashville from New York, and we were talking, and I asked him, I said, well, how's it feel being back in Nashville? He's a Vanderbilt grad. He and his wife and 3 children moved back here, and he said, it's been good. He said, we like it. We miss our friends in New York, but we like it here. And I said, well, what's the main difference between being in New York and being in Nashville? And he looked at me and he said, honestly? And I said, yeah, honestly, I'm your minister. Be honest with me, right? He said, honestly, this town has so many breakfasts. I've never been invited to more breakfasts in my life, and usually they're expensive breakfasts. But we both concluded that Nashville is an incredibly compassionate, benevolent town, and we would put this city up against any in the United States in terms of its benevolence and its compassion, and that's why we are here. I was thinking in recent days about what I could say for the keynote portion of today, the short keynote portion. I'll remind you, and I was talking to a friend of mine, and I said, what can I look to for wisdom and for inspiration for this talk? And this person has a quick sense of humor. He said, well, how about your high school yearbook? And I looked and said, no, I don't think so. But I thought I'd go back to Scripture because that's always a much safer place to go. A number of years ago, I gave this talk, and I raised 3 questions. that I want to lift back up briefly again this morning. The first question was, how do we look at other people? And remember the words of Scripture that say that God does not see as mortals see, for mortals look on the outward appearance, but the Lord looks on the heart. The second question was, do we care about the working poor and the less fortunate? The obvious answer is yes, of course we care about them, but do our actions and our generosity back that up? Jesus begins his ministry by saying, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he has anointed me to bring good news to the poor. He sent me to proclaim release to the captives and recovery of sight to the blind, to let the oppressed go free. And the third question was, in what then are we doing to make this world and this community a better place for those who are struggling? Now, since that time, this amazing organization, Faith Family Medical Center, has taken a dream of Dr. David Gaw, Dr. John Lamb from back in 1999, and has turned that into a full-blown reality, serving patients all over Middle Tennessee, both the uninsured and the underinsured. And just to see the growth and the support in recent years has been so encouraging and so exciting. So what I'd like to do this morning, very briefly, is I would like to share with you the top 10 reasons why I think we support Faith Family Medical Center, since this is the 10th breakfast that we have had. And you can follow these on the screen. And I'm going to do this Letterman style. I'll do this starting with number 10, and I'll go up to number 1. Number 10 is this: Nashville continues to grow at a staggering pace. We know that over 100 people move here every single day. Well, what does that have to do with Faith Family? That simply means that there will be more people, waiters, waitresses, musicians, construction workers, lots of people who do not have health insurance or who do not have adequate health insurance. I moved to Nashville 11 years ago. This is not the same town that I moved to in 2007. So as Nashville continues to grow, so will the need for Faith Family. Number 9, Faith Family has become one of the most amazing interfaith ministries of this city. And this is not to knock any of the others, because we know that there are lots of other phenomenal interfaith ministries. But today we have Christians of all different denominations, from all different churches. We have Jewish folks, we have Muslims, we have spiritual seekers. We've all come together to support this organization. Now, we may all disagree when it comes to issues of doctrine or theology or orthodoxy or social issues or politics, but we all agree that supporting this organization is indeed a good thing. There's a proverb that says this: alone we go fast, together we go far. And together we can do far more than any of us can do by ourselves, and that's what we have seen as Faith Family has grown. Number 8, people who are down on their luck for whatever reason still deserve quality health care. We can sit around and debate the role of government in health care. We can debate Obamacare and its shortcomings or flaws. We can debate whether or not to expand Medicaid, as we'll see in the governor's race. And many of us will do that, but I think that we would all agree that anybody who is down on their luck, anybody who is working part-time, who doesn't have benefits, who can't afford premiums, who has some pre-existing condition, whatever the reason might be, what a blessing to have a place like Faith Family where they can go and receive quality health care at a low cost. Number 7, to a family that is struggling, medical bills can be financially devastating. To any family who's already living on a tight budget, even if they have catastrophic health coverage, things can happen in life that can wipe out any savings that they have, and this can be devastating. Many people are simply not in a place to pay for certain services as it pertains to their health. And so that's where we step in at Faith Family. We offer these services at a very low cost. we made the decision, as Dr. Henderson said back in 2015, to cover not only the uninsured, but the underinsured, because there are plenty of people that have catastrophic health coverage, but they cannot afford the deductibles, and they cannot pay for the bills that will come their way. So in some ways, it's like they don't have health insurance unless it's some catastrophic situation, but Faith Family is there to help. Number 6, Faith Family has been able to maximize the charitable dollar, providing, get this, $8.5 million worth of care in the year 2017. That is phenomenal, and that is the collaboration of partnerships and friendships. That's specialists who are donating their time, volunteers. Through all of this network that we have, we've been able to take the money that you give and multiply that number 3 or 4 or 5 times because of the services that are donated by compassionate people in this town. So every dollar that you give to this organization, we take that and we actually multiply it and do more with it. Now, the top 5 that I'm going to give you pertain for me to my Christian faith. I realize not everybody here is a Christian, but for me, these are the reasons why this organization has been so near and dear to my heart. So number 5, as Christians, we're called to bring good news to the poor. That's what Jesus said in Luke's gospel, and I can't think of a better way to do that than to let them know that there is affordable, quality health care available. Number 4, Jesus said, where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Notice that he didn't say it the other way. He didn't say where your heart is, there your treasure will be. It's possible to care about a lot of things and not put your treasure there. But it's simply impossible to put your money into any organization and not care how that organization is doing. If you invest in Faith Family, then you will care about the patient stories like the ones we hear from Parker every year at this breakfast. Number 3, Faith Family is giving hope to people every single day. And we live in a world where many people live in hopeless situations. Many people feel like they have nowhere to turn. We live in a world where depression and anxiety is on the rise, and that's not just among the poor. That's in all socioeconomic classes. Many find themselves in situations where they can't see a way out. They feel like nobody cares. Parker will tell you that people that come in to the center are struggling with not only their medical condition, but also with anxiety and depression at the same time. We know those words of Scripture where Paul says that suffering produces endurance, and endurance produces character, and character produces hope, and hope does not disappoint. So as long as we can keep spreading hope, then we are doing a good thing. Number 2, Jesus is all about healing. You simply cannot read the Gospels and not see how many times Jesus was healing. Healing the leper, the man with the unclean spirit, the paralytic, the blind man, Bartimaeus, the raising of Lazarus. I could go on down the list. But Jesus' life and ministry was about healing. And so therefore, at least for me and those of us who are Christians, to be a follower of Jesus means that we must also be about healing, providing healing, encouraging healing, making sure that everybody has access to healing. That's what it means to follow Christ. The number one reason that I support Faith Family and that I would encourage you to support Faith Family is because Faith Family Medical Center is saving lives on a regular basis. If you talk to Parker or one of the nurses and you hear these stories of the patients, then you will know that this is happening. They'll tell us, the patients will tell us that if they had not found Faith Family, there's a good chance that they would not still be alive, because there are certain conditions that if left untreated will only get worse. Things like hypertension, diabetes, heart disease. But if they are treated, their life can be saved. And this is a place that is saving lives on a regular basis. So this morning we have a chance to continue this dream and this vision that started back in 1999. This morning we have a chance to support an organization that is doing incredible work. Somebody reminded me at the door of the old preacher joke that says, I've got good news and bad news. The good news is we've got plenty of money to cover all of the functions of Faith Family Medical Center. The bad news is it's still in your wallet. If you look on your table, there are envelopes and there are cards. And this is one of those breakfasts that we want to be expensive in Nashville this morning. But today, we have a chance to keep spreading hope. We have a chance to keep providing healing. We have a chance to keep saving lives. And we can do that through Faith Family Medical Center. In Luke 12, it says, to whom much has been given, much will be required. Many of us have been blessed in so many ways. And this is a chance for us to give back and to help people in our community who desperately need the help. I'm going to close with a quote by John Wesley that I think you Methodists will like, and then we're going to give you a couple minutes to work on your card. But this is what John Wesley, who was a founder of Methodism, once said, and this is a pretty good way to live. He said, do all the good that you can, by all the means that you can, in all the ways that you can, in all the places that you can, at all the times that you can, to all the people that you can, for as long as you ever can. Let's be generous this morning and keep this amazing organization vibrant for many years. In fact, this is what I would challenge you. Whatever you were thinking about doing, add 15% to that. Give back to this organization so that it can continue its mission and its purpose. It's going to be so vital for the future of Nashville, Tennessee. Amen.
Well, good morning, and all I can say about Clay's comments are, wow, that was awesome. I too want to thank each of you for being here this morning, people that we consider also to be part of Faith Family's family, and for your much appreciated generosity in supporting Faith Family today and in years past. I also wanted to put a Kavanaugh joke in here right now, but it got killed on the way over here. So, for the past couple of years, we've been working towards resolution of a few major challenges that have somewhat limited our ability to put in place a long-term vision for Faith Family. You've heard repeatedly how generous St. Thomas has been since we've been here in providing our clinic and parking spaces on a pro bono basis. But we've always had in this arrangement, and rightfully so, for St. Thomas to be able to take that property back at any time on 1 year's notice. And they have repeatedly told us not to worry, this can never happen. But as a board and as a management team, you're always stuck with that sort of, well, what if question. So we committed intentionally as a board to set our sight on two major goals. First, we want Faith Family to have its own building. And we feel like we need this to provide the long-term stability and assurance of continuity of services for our patients for the next generation. We knew this was going to be a heavy lift because we also know, because of the reasons that Parker and Clay have spoken about, that we needed to stay in or in close proximity to the medical center because of all the relationships that we have built over the years. And we all know what's happening and has been happening for some time to real estate prices in Nashville. But we weren't to be deterred. So secondly, we also need a lot more space than we have. Not only to provide for the care of the patients that we currently have, because I know we have many volunteers here, and those of you who work in the center know how cramped we are. We're actually in the same space that we started with in 2001. We have a little over 3,000 feet in that clinic. And it's a real challenge. But we know also, as Clay mentioned, that we've got a growing population here. The Affordable Care Act has not met expectations. So we know we're going to continue to see year after year patients who will fall through the cracks, and they need a safety net, and that's Faith Family. To pursue our goals, we set in motion a few initiatives on somewhat of a parallel basis. We first needed to satisfy ourselves that we could raise the money to build or buy our own facility. In 2017, we hired a consultant. We did a feasibility study. Those results came back very promising. So we quietly launched our capital campaign. And we knew this was going to be a challenge because of where we needed to be and how expensive it would be. But Jennifer and I have recently been interviewed by consultants of a private school and a church, and we learned in that process that there are now 62 or 3 capital campaigns underway or about to be launched in Nashville. So we've got some competition. Secondly, to help identify and evaluate real estate options, I enlisted the help of Rob Lowe and McLean Towery, who are partners with my son Elliot in several local, what we hope to be very lucrative real estate ventures, to advise Faith Family on all real estate related matters. Finally, we went to the St. Thomas executives and we told them how much we appreciated and continue to appreciate what they're doing for us, but we felt like we really needed to move ahead with achieving the goal of having a much larger facility. They not only told us how much they appreciated the relationship that we had with them, but they also said they would be willing to work with us to see on some type of collaborative basis if we could work out something where we could solve our issues. And after exploring a few things that didn't work out, not for lack of effort, St. Thomas dropped a bomb on us out of the blue. I mean that in a good way. They told us if we could assemble enough property to build our own building adjacent to the current site where we were operating, they would give us a 50-year ground lease on that property. This became a real game changer and provided us with the incentive we needed to do everything we could to bring our goals to reality. And when we left this meeting, Laura and I were very composed and very stoic until we got on the elevator. Laura lost it. I don't know whether she was doing the floss or the Watusi or whatever you call it, but she was sure cutting it up for good reasons. So I want to show you this slide, which is where this is an aerial, of course, of three pieces of property. The one in orange is where our current clinic is. As you can see, it's on the corner of 21st and Murphy, which is right in the heart of the medical center, 1 block from St. Thomas's campus. The blue parcel has a house on it, and for several years, Faith Family has leased the ground floor of that house. And while we were actively engaged in working on our campaign, we unexpectedly received notice that the owner of the house had put it on the market, shortly to be followed by a notice that there was a credible offer to purchase the property. Fortunately, we had in our lease the right to match any offer, and we proceeded immediately to be able to do that based on the faith that we would with God's help, be able to raise the money we needed. So I think it was August of last year that we actually closed on that parcel. So then our attention immediately turned to the mission critical piece to the puzzle, and that's the parcel in red. This was a different kettle of fish. We had a somewhat non-motivated seller who was very happy where he was. He's a State Farm agent. And Rob and McLean engaged with him immediately, and they told us that this guy was going to be a bit more of a challenge, but that they felt confident that they could get him where he needed to be. And he was not insistent, but he required that we help him find a suitable location for him to relocate, that it had to be in his budget, it had to fit his size parameters, and he wanted to do a tax-free exchange, which is another issue. But this took months and months and months. But I'm happy to be able to report that this past month we closed on this piece of property. And I want, these guys have put a lot of work into this, and I want Rob and McLean, Elliot, you keep your seat. I want Rob and McLean to stand up and be recognized for the work you've done for us. There's no way any of this would have happened without St. Thomas's ground lease. No way. This is not only a multi-million-dollar gift to Faith Family, but it keeps us where we are, which is where we absolutely need to be. And it's the way it's set up geographically, with the zoning and other factors McLean can tell you about. It's an ideal piece of property for us to build our building. And I can't today tell you what kind of building we're going to build or how big it's going to be, but I can tell you where it's going to be. It's going to be right there where those red and blue circles are. And we're excited about that, as we should be. As I mentioned earlier, we launched our campaign in 2017. Our first stop was with our board, and we felt like we needed to get them committed before we could really reach out to others in the community. And I'm happy to be able to tell you that our board has pledged $750,000 to kick this campaign off with 100% participation. Board members, stand up. Stand up. This is a big one. We're also extremely happy to let you know that within the past 60 days, we have received $1 million each from the HCA Foundation and the Frisk Foundation. And we'll be eternally thankful and grateful to these wonderful Nashville institutions for their generosity and for giving our campaign such a tremendous boost. We have received another $1,250,000 from other foundations and an additional $1.2 million from a small number of individual donors. So in total, as of this morning, we have either received or have pledges for $5.2 million towards our building. So between now and year end, we're going to be wrapping up this private part of our campaign. In mid-January, we'll make a public announcement with the press and all that goes with that. And our goal is to have all of our pledges committed by May or June of next year. So we're well on our way, and thanks to the generosity of these people, we're off to a tremendous start. So can we show the rendering? Yeah. Faith, Family Forward, Building Healthier Lives. That's our campaign theme. And this is probably, we got this last week. I mean, it's brand new. We're in the very early stages of evaluating square footage and cost options. And we're in a great position with the success we've had with our campaign to dream big. But much work remains before we will be able to definitively decide on the building that we'll ultimately construct. But our plan is to begin construction in May or June of next year, with a grand opening just about 2 years from now. So truly brighter days are ahead for Faith Family. And on behalf of our board, our management team, and most importantly, our patients, thank you again for being here, to sharing our good news, and to celebrate our being able to look to Faith Family's future with great confidence and excitement. God bless you, your families, and God bless Faith Family for the good work it does. Thank you.